I'm a Lizzie and welcome to the cringiest thing I'll ever know. I did like lose my voice, but I'm not like sick or anything. I just lost my voice. It's really funny. And I wasn't actually prepared to make a video, so I wasn't planning on it at all. So this is like all done in like kind of like a couple days on the spur of the moment because I had speed paints and felt like it. I didn't have sprites or a character, and I had made like a YouTube short being like, what if I posted this, guys? What if I like finished this off and it wasn't a silly sketch? And here we are. All of this because I recently popped off in Overwatch, and wanted to combine Echo with Miku because of the color palettes being really similar. And I thought it would be like kind of fun and silly, and like I love character mashups, especially when they're like things that don't go together. So I figured, do it. Yeah. So for like the first half of the video, I'm gonna show like the initial concept sketch and like what I actually did and like the design choices I made initially, and then I'm gonna go over like the final design that I kind of did because this only took like one whip. It was great. So yeah, let's get into it. I'm so cringe. So obviously I was referencing Miku and Echo for this, like as a whole. However, I used my own drawings as a way of like grasping how I'd like do them together, because obviously doing them separately is very different to doing them like mushed together. This one ended up a bit chunkier and like not delicate enough, if that makes sense, for Echo. So when I redid it, I very much fixed that problem. A lot of this is basically just drawing Echo with a few like extra details, and like for the first sketch I didn't make it clear enough like the materials, the differences in textures, which I feel like is very important in the second design despite how subtle some of it can be, because like some of it you can barely tell is there. And like I don't know, I just feel like it helped a lot. The colouring goes very quickly on this one, so I'm just gonna start talking about it when it's not coloured as well, as like a note that you'll see it in a minute. That side thing was giving me trouble. Basically, I took out the red of Miku's design and like, you know, the little hair thingy she has, and like a couple of other things, because I thought, well, Echo has the gold, the red might be too many colours, I don't want to overdo it, because usually I overdo it, and if I want this to be like a believable design, I should like have a little less than what I would normally do. So I took it out thinking like it would help, and it turns out it makes like half the design, to be honest. It really helped fix it. I used the blue of Miku's hair from the reference for the base blue instead of Echo's, just because it's more teal, and that way when I did the teal for the wings and like the fringe, basically with that, I used Miku's blue just because it would pair better and it wouldn't clash so much. And I use a low opacity brush for like almost all of my drawings, especially the ones I'm showing here. And yeah, the hands are different sizes. I was struggling. Like I said, the anatomy on this one is like shocking. I gave her a microphone because I got worried that it wouldn't convey Echo and Miku enough, but to be honest, why was I worried? It's Echo in a Miku cosplay, I cannot lie. I was aiming for the skirt to look sculpted in, and the tie to be like blue and glowy like the rest of Echo, so it's basically just like a cutout in the white part of a chest and things like that. I was referencing the anime Miku, not like Miku. No particular reason, it was just the only first reference I found in my gallery because I have that many pictures of Miku. And I ended up not changing it all that much, it was largely in the colour. And like a good thing about Echo is that her arms kind of like flare out at the wrist, and have like the little diamond thing on it. So it's like it basically acts as a Miku sleeve on its own. So I basically just added these little pointy parts to it to indicate like the top of like thigh highs and things, because that's what Miku typically wears. For the colouring, I basically just used a base of white after I did like the blue with the glow effects, obviously, because I didn't want to colour the white with low opacity brushes, to be honest. Seems like an arsec to me. I did the gold as well by this point. So I was basically just doing the white and the greys. So I outlined everything in white and paint bucketed it in, and just to be as lazy as humanly possible, I suppose. I don't know. I do things in a weird way. I do things in a very strange way, actually. So I just basically went around it, paint bucketed it in, left it, started adding the greys in, and I used about 3 different shades. 2 of which were achieved with the same shade of grey and the lower opacity brush I used, because on the lighter parts I only laid it once, and on the darker parts I laid it a few times. And then I added a more purpley version, grey, similar to that with Miku's shoes. I'm pretty sure that's where I dropped it from. I might not have, to be fair. It might just exist. But yeah, I started colouring it in and wanted to gradient it, like, similarly to how, like, the anime Miku has the lighter parts on her sleeves and socks. So I did it the same way. Yeah, there's the purpley grey. I did, instead of doing the 2 black lines like on traditional Miku's time, I did the bottom one golden to pull the gold up a little more, since I was using it as a primary accent, and also it just looks cool, to be honest. The top one does end up being like the same dark grey as the rest of it, and I really like it. Like, the design itself is fine, however, just a few small changes really made like a huge difference in it. And a lot of this Speedpaint is basically just colouring it, but it also is really rapid. I did like the frilly skirt and stuff. I really liked the look of it, to be honest, and I was trying to aim for it to like appearing sculpted in. I did the fringe instead of the little symbol. I basically just wanted it to read as Miku as well as Echo, and the fringe really helped, I think. I hope. She's not too far from done. I gradiented at the bottom of the wings because like a lot of Echo skins have like the little wing gradient, and I think it's just really pretty. And like it really suits, and it also just adds a bit of like something to look at. Echo already has like lines on the bottom of her wings, I guess, like just like little grooves and things in triangular sort of shapes that kind of, they're a lot rounder, to be honest. So I basically took those and like turned them into little decorative bands on the Miku wings. So the bottom ones were dark to pull it out to the sides a bit more, and then the top ones were just the bottom colour pulled up, because I thought it made like a pretty nice accent without being like too much. This is where I fiddled with the colour to get it to like a really nice teal, and it took me a little while. I've pretty much run out of things to say, so enjoy the speed paint up until I start doing the face so I can talk about that. Yeah, I basically made her face just like pale blues and whites because I want to look glowing, and here she is, the final Miku. Right, so for Hatsune Echo Mark II, I decided to work on the anatomy first. She's quite delicate looking, and I wanted to represent that a lot better than the first drawing. It was just like too buff. And you can see me here like fixing the arms and the like readjusting the feet and everything. I used the symmetry tool for the face simply because I wasn't sure how to angle her like elongated head. I didn't end up missing details anyway. You can see like the top of it, so you still get like a good feel for the design. I first roughed out the base shapes, focusing on Echo's parts more as like the largest change to the silhouette is the skirt, and that's like the Miku part. One issue I did have was like trying to drop that angle, though it was somehow like just as bad as trying to drop it from like a side or 3/4 profile. I did the little like fringe and things and the little microphones back, and you can just see like I just know what I'm doing better because I have like a solid design to work from, and it ends up coming out a lot cleaner, which is really nice, to be honest. Pleats and ruffles are fairly straightforward to draw, to be honest. I usually start with a curved line, but you alternate with straight lines, so which you start with doesn't really matter. I use the outer lines to determine length and where the pleats hit, and triangle up with slightly curved lines to indicate a fold or like a crease. Ruffles are the same, just make them smaller and tighter, like closer together. I made sure to keep her legs like quite curved as well. It really shows her graceful pose and more or less accurate to Echo's design. I duplicated the little thingy around her feet to keep it symmetrical, and also because I'm really lazy and that's like really easy to do, it's just to duplicate it and erase some parts. I started doing little hip things, and those gave me way less trouble this time. I guess I just like got good. I figured out how to art. Like I said, a lot of this redraw is just copying the initial sketch with like quality changes rather than like major changes, because the biggest changes I made between the designs is from the color. Like, they're basically the same, just one's drawn better. I can't lie. One of the things I found like kind of difficult about this like more recent drawing was the little bit under the round part on her thigh, like the straight line with the glow in the middle. That, because there was less space, it was like really hard to draw, to be honest. And like hands, I hate them so much. Like the first one was like relatively easy, minus a couple attempts, and I kind of winged it. Yeah, but the second, however, no, I had to readjust it a lot, and I tried flipping the other, but I realized it wasn't going to work, at least not easily. And after I got that, I had the details. But Echo's hands are actually like deceptively intricate when you draw them, and I didn't have space to add like all of them, and I didn't have good references for her hands, and I didn't know what was like fully going on, so I did just kind of have to wing it. So those little balls are like the little knobbly bits she has. I used a symmetry tool on the wings, but the other one got cropped out, so I ended up removing it. I sketched it out as though Echo wasn't in front of them, so I didn't miss details, and I adjusted the position after copying and flipping the first wing before I erased the part she wouldn't see. So yeah, there I am, erasing like the little jetty bits and things. I used red to fill Echo's silhouette before colour shifting it to a cool grey, though it was a bit more blue-grey, to be honest. Oh, you're about to see like me do the worst colouring of my life, to be honest. Like, I don't know why I did it the way that I did, but it worked, and I guess it's Echo. So, you know, I got a drawing out of it. I initially coloured with a brush that didn't have full opacity, because it's what I prefer in the majority of my artwork. However, it was difficult to layer with that excessive stroke, so I ended up doing a really stupid technique. I would colour with the low opacity brush and then copy it and merge the layers, then copy that and merge the layers again, and it worked. But it would have been easier just to use a full opacity brush and the paint bucket tool, because I was just repeating that until it was like at a good opacity. I started with the white, moving to the greys. I kept the two shades but slightly changed the locations to create a slight gradient from pale grey to a deep purple, almost black. It's 3 greys, not 2. Oops. One perk of a low opacity brush is that I could layer the darkest grey over the others, so that I could create additional shadows and details without more line art. And then I moved on to the gold afterwards. When I started in the gold, I did it at the same time as the red, so you can really start to see where I made changes. My friend host_, I'll link her Instagram in my description, suggested to use red and the glowing band at the top, and I couldn't leave it as just the band, so I added a few very small details in red to carry it through the design, which really made her look Miku inspired due to the red accents, and I don't know, it just helped. And then I started doing the blues, and like the underneath of the skirt wasn't supposed to glow, so I had to like kind of have the exact same shade of blue not glowing, whilst the rest of the blues, aside from the wings and like the fringy bits, were glowing, and it was very awkward. For the wings and the hair, I put them on a layer below the rest of the colours, and since I had the base grey selected, I just scribbled different blue over it all. Yes, with a low opacity brush. I changed the colour by just colouring back over it with a bigger, more opaque brush. Yes, I know. Incredibly intelligent of me. I added the gradient like the original. It's subtle, but it really helps make the design, I think. I also added the gradient to the fringe this time. I did middle of the fringe on the wrong layer though, and had to correct it, and it was really awkward. I then erased the excess teal of the wings so you couldn't see it around the edges of the rest of the colours. I can't remember why she briefly went light blue, to be honest. I began to add the glow effects around the blues, aside from the skirt and the wings/hair. I used the same low opacity brush to go around the edges and lighten the centre of the larger parts, like the face. It acted as a base for the glow effects I later finished off with the shading. And I did the same for the reds. I also did the blue and red to the parts that weren't glowing so the light was hitting the rest of Echo. I believe I set the layer to glow or soft glow. I duplicated the liner and selected everything but the face. I removed what I had selected. I then changed the colour of the face so it looked closer to Echo, that being her face is part of whatever the glowy stuff is. I used the light blue for her eye whites, then a glow layer over the irises so they looked as though they were glowing, like Echo's. I then began to shade with purples and low opacity watercolour brushes. The first layer was largely to represent depth by darkening the wings and darkening the parts furthest from the blues and reds. I then adjusted the layer again. I believe it was either colour burn or multiply. I used a smaller brush to add harder shadows around Echo. I layered the brush multiple times to make the colour darker in places. I duplicated Echo's glow layer and turned off glow to eyedropper the colour. I did this to add a small line on the back of the knee. It's barely visible. Died. Although I used the colour again in another couple places and like a lot for the lighting. If you are wondering why the canvas keeps moving but there's nothing happening, it's because I'm using a speckle brush to add a faint texture to the white, black, and bottom of the skirt, the ruffle. Also the wings. I played with the layer effects again and duplicated the speckles to fiddle with them. I played with the colours and such too. I then turned off all the shading and line work to eyedropper the colours and used my low opacity brush with lots of layers to create cool little orbs for her colour palette. I then added the last minute 01 to Echo's chest, as it's the iconic Miku thing and it needed to be done. I don't know how I forgot. I have a glow pen tool and I use I have a glow pen tool and I use to add shadows and highlights and just complete the drawing. And enjoy the final echo. Now that I've completed this drawing, I've become increasingly happy with the design. She looks like Echo and she looks like Miku. The pose is cute and the lighting has really helped me learn to create better glow effects. I feel like I've achieved what I wanted. She looks just how I pictured. A rare occurrence. I'm so chuffed with how she came out. But let me know what you think. I appreciate any thoughts and any critique you have. Thanks for watching.